Thanks for joining us for our Chamber Connection podcast. Thanks to our friends at Speakeasy, we are here for the next 52 weeks, bringing you guests from around our community, elected officials, business owners, folks doing great work here in Macomb County. So sit back, take a listen, and we hope you'll join us every week for our Chamber Connection. Hello, and welcome back to the Sterling Heights Regional Chamber of Commerce podcast. My name is Stacy Ziarko. I'm the president and CEO of the Sterling Heights Chamber here in Sterling Heights, Michigan. And I am here today with not only one of our chamber members, but one of our board members, Clint Mosley from State Farm Insurance in Sterling Heights. Clint, thanks for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
We're excited to spend a little bit of time talking about, a little bit about insurance in Sterling Heights and what we're seeing, and then also a lot about how you give back to the community, both from State Farm and personally. So we look forward to that. So I'm going to tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and, what you do here in Sterling Heights.
Yeah, so like you said, a State Farm agent here in Sterling Heights, 16 in Ryan. More importantly, a father of two twin boys, 5 years old, Spencer and Oliver. My wife, Susan, is from the area. I'm originally from North Carolina.
So you love this winter
not
weather.
Not used to this weather, especially this week, but getting used to it. But no, I lived in North Carolina, met my wife in Tennessee. Life was going good. Found out we were having the twins, so we moved up here. And honestly, I absolutely love Michigan. I love the seasons and the culture of the area. Just this weekend we went to a little festival. And just so much to offer here in the area. So we really enjoy that and love that.
How did you pick Sterling Heights to open your business when you moved back here?
Good question. Being one of the largest areas of population and business and commerce was helpful, right? And I just really enjoyed. So I live up in the Lake Orion, Rochester area. But had some opportunities to open my shop and my office in several cities, but really enjoy Sterling Heights. And the more research and the more people I met, including the chamber in the city, and just the cultures there in Sterling Heights really drew me to it. And so I had the opportunity 4 years ago to open my doors, and Sterling Heights has been very welcoming. The chamber's been amazing to partner with, and like you said, it's kind of nice to not only give and get a lot of resources, but also to be able to give back in the community, and that's what we try to do.
Talk a little bit about, I've met some of your team before over the last couple of years that we've been involved in the chamber work together. Tell me a little bit about your team and the folks that work with you in your office. You're like you said, you're over at 16 in Mound, or 16 in Ryan.
16 in Ryan,
16 in Ryan, I'm sorry.
It's right there in Mound. You can call it Mound Corridor.
But you have a lot of you give a lot of business from your neighbors and the people that you hire too.
Yeah, so like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. A jingle is probably 40 years old. We're actually turning 100 this year. So
ooh, I love anniversaries and birthdays. I know you do.
And then we should have had you on the State Farm committee putting together the 100-year anniversary. But we're turning 100, and our team is really just about building relationships. So we get a lot of referrals and business from our neighbors, and again try to give that through the chamber's brag and being an active member of that. But referrals are really important. Building relationships is really important to us. So people have many choices in insurance, and what we're trying to do is do things a little differently, have conversations about people, their families, their needs. We enjoy that. We really like to get to know people. And so me and my team, that's what we're doing, is really just talking to people, getting to know them, their families, but then also being able to provide insurance and the things they need, that's required by the state or that's going to help them protect their family. It's just how we think being a good neighbor is all about.
So we were very lucky at our chamber golf outing last year. You were able to bring Jake from State Farm with you.
Jake is always popular. He is, the first Jake was really popular, and the second one has just exceeded everyone's expectations. He's a great guy, has great commercials, and obviously you see him all the time. I mean, the amount of money State Farm spends on investment and marketing and brand is amazing. But you see him, online. You see him in the commercials and at the Chamber Golf Tournament. He's made an appearance.
I have high expectations for a very cool Super Bowl commercial this year, so I'll keep my eyes peeled.
I think, I haven't heard anything, but there's always great commercials, and State Farm turning 100, I'm sure there's going to be something. Like a couple years we thought we were going to have both the quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. There was a chance they were going to play in the Super Bowl, which would have been great for State Farm. But that didn't happen, and it didn't happen this year either. So,
tell me a little about makes State Farm different.
Yeah, so State Farm, one of the things that makes us different is really the local agent presence. So a lot of things in life have gone strictly online. And for 100 years, we've been in the communities and had a local presence. So in Michigan, there's about 400 agents in the Sterling Heights area, probably in the greater Detroit area, 40 to 100 agents that are here that you can walk into our offices. We're a part of the chamber. We're a part of memberships. We make sponsorships. We go to the churches you go to. We go to the restaurants you go to. So we're here locally. And our teams are obviously an extension of us, but that's a little different. And we're very much ahead on digital capabilities. You can do a lot of things online, but what people tell us, and what whether it's millennials or senior citizens, they tell us they like that mix. They like the mix of being able to come and talk to Clint, sit down in front of him. When my house catches on fire, I want Clint to be there. But they also want the digital capabilities to be able to pay their bills and do some of the things online. So how we're different is State Farm, as we look at the next 100 years for State Farm, we're still going to be that. There's no plans to change that. It's actually, we're continuing to enhance that, putting more agents and more representatives in the communities that we serve so that we can be there and have conversations, be a part of the community, give back, and do whatever we can to help people and thus help our businesses.
So for those people that, aren't aware, what are some of the products that State Farm offers?
Yeah, so I get this all the time. So everyone usually knows about auto insurance and home insurance or renter's insurance, but we help people with their life insurance, which is a very important part, especially to families and those who have the people who depend on your income. Same thing with disability insurance. That just helps when, again, you break a leg and you can't go to work. That helps to pay the bills, right? So disability insurance. Some of our branches and our offices also help with retirement planning. So thinking about not only protecting you now, but helping you invest for the future. And so that's mutual funds, 529, to help your kids and grandkids go to college and pay for that college. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things that we offer in addition to some alliances with some of the biggest names in other industries like Rocket Pro Mortgage, U.S. Bank, things like that. There's a lot of strategic alliances that we have just to help the customer. Because again, if we're having a good relationship with Stacy and her family, there's a lot of things that we can do in addition to auto insurance and renter's insurance to help you and be that trusted advisor for you.
What is a product that you offer when you talk a little bit about like folks maybe being underinsured that someone might need and they just don't know it today?
I think it's probably 100% life insurance. And the story I'd tell you is my dad, back in the 1980s, we were living in Indiana, and somebody knocked on our door and sold my dad, helped him with about a $50,000 life insurance policy. And I think it was like 1986. And fast forward to 2010, he passed away. And that was the only policy he had. He had quit working, so he didn't have anything through work. So $50,000. Some may say that sounds like a lot of money. Some it doesn't sound like a lot of money. But I know to us, $50,000 was important to obviously help with the funeral, but then to help my mom transition, from that 2 income to a single income.
Sure.
So life insurance is one of those things that a lot of people, they don't want to think about. It's not easy to think about. It's not fun to think about. But when you think about Spencer and Oliver, my 2 kids, you got to put that, I got to do what's right for them. Not only I got to feed them and take them to Disney and do all those fun things,
sure.
But yeah, I got to make sure that I take care of them. And life insurance is one of those areas that a lot of people miss because they may have something through work or they may want to wait till they're 50, 60 years old to think about that when really the time and the best time is as early as you can as you're healthier and younger. But especially once your life changes, you have a wife or a husband dependent on your income and especially children. And then the second thing here in Michigan is probably liability insurance. So this is what's required by the state for you to legally drive, mm-hmm. right? And you have some choices. The state says you have to have the minimum, which is $50,000, $100,000. But for a little bit more, you can really protect yourself, especially if you have an income or you and your spouse has an income, you have some equity in the home, you have some other assets. So life insurance would be number one, but pretty close by is liability insurance. And that's why both of those are so important. Mm-hmm. For me, that the State Farm model is to have the agent that we can talk to Stacy and her family, or we can talk to families and really explain those and be an educator versus just saying, hey, Stacy, what do you have now? Let's just give you what you have now. Let's have a conversation, and it's fun because the stories you hear from people and getting to know people's families and what they like to do, it makes the week go by pretty quickly.
And my guess is that, by working with one member of a family, you work with generations of families then too, as you get to know them and build relationships and referrals and things like that.
Especially with State Farm being 100 years old, you're exactly right. So we have, people whose grandparents have been with State Farm, and, it's a legacy. It's part of their generation, right? It's something that they've always done. Maybe they've always had the wedding at Penna's, but they always have used State Farm for insurance, and it is a blessing, and we're very, very thankful for that. Very honored to be trusted with several generations to be part of their family's fabric.
And I think it's great when you talk about being 100 years old, the services that you've provided, but you've also changed with the times too. When you talk about still having a person, but also having digital components, because I think sometimes that's where places miss the mark and don't transition as their business longevity goes on, is that they miss modernizing in some respects. And I think State Farm's done a good job of doing all of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think we always want to be ahead. We're not going to be we're not going to be the first to introduce a technology. That's going to be Google and Apple and things, but we're going to be close behind and taking advantage of that. So some of the options during COVID was how we pay claims. We still have a large customer base who loves to bring cash or and pay with cash, or they want the claim paid with a check and mailed to them. Well, as we saw with COVID and through the through that there were a lot of delays, and so electronic funds, right, being sent to you really quickly, paying with PayPal or Venmo, things like that are important. But I think the one thing that stands out to me is we had the technology, again, the relationship, and a lot of people coming to us and let's sit down and across from one another and have a conversation using technology like Zoom, but to be able to have that conversation in that virtual meeting was important, whether it was a claim or someone, sitting down needing to talk about life insurance and things like that.
I think that's something that the pandemic did for all of us, is it changed how the technology we used, and what we used to think was required is no longer, like you said, somebody used to walk in and pay a bill. We've come up with 15 different ways that someone can pay for something these days. And it, sometimes being forced to change is a good thing.
I spent a couple of years at a startup company called Mom Source Network, and what we were doing is advocating for flexible employment. And I can't tell you the number of times I was sitting with an executive or a board and saying, this sounds great, but we just can't do it. We can't do it, right? For effectiveness, efficiency. Fast forward to COVID, and everyone was doing it, right? So I think what that helped too, I heard some statistics that, like technology moved forward 3 to 6 years because of COVID. As did workforce flexibility and development, because you had to do it, right? So some of those things, it's a blessing. Obviously, COVID is not a blessing, but the byproducts of COVID and what we went through.
It's going to be interesting to watch what happens now, as we kind of come out of post-COVID, and what the next 5 to 10 years look like.
Yeah.
And how we keep the good things and, kind of find the good in both and come to that new hybrid.
I think you're right. You try things and you reevaluate and see what works, keep those, do more of them, and pivot and do something differently for those things that aren't working.
And I love change. I love making change. So this is really kind of fun and exciting for all of us. I feel bad for, my team some days when I'm like, okay, I have an idea. Let's try this.
Right.
I know have been in Michigan now for 4 years and had your business here, and you've been super involved in many different over your career in boards and organizations and service. And, what makes that a very important piece of your professional life too, is being of service to your community?
I've been blessed to have mentors and organizations that made it a focus and gave us opportunities. So as I think back to even when I was, again, in elementary school and going through school, service organizations, and the opportunity to give back, I could really see, selfishly how it makes you feel. Like when you give something back, you think you're giving to others, but really you gain, right? You get this reward of helping others, or you see the impact it makes on your community. So I think I was lucky enough to through my mom volunteering, and then she used to volunteer in nursing homes. So I remember we would go in and play bingo and dress up. She would dress up like a clown, right, for these events for the nursing home and senior centers. And then as I got older into high school, doing some organizations through my school and college and such. But then as as an employee and getting into leadership at organizations, them number one saying that, hey, this is important, whether it's United Way, or maybe we're just volunteering to rehab and refurb a soccer field, or things like that. So I've had a lot of opportunities to be a part of organizations, and I think luckily I had good mentorships and parents to point me in that direction. And then now I just try to bring others along, with me, my teammates, peers, community members. There's just so many opportunities to give back, and it's very rewarding. So selfishly, it's it's nice to get more than you really give.
So as I mentioned earlier, you're now in your second year on the Chamber Board of Directors. We were lucky that you were interested in joining our board and have been a great advocate for our membership and for our even our chamber team. What was that? What was kind of the inspiration to join us and to join our board?
I didn't want to tell Stacy no, right? So
good. That's a good answer.
No, when you ask, it was not something that I had thought about, but I again going back to giving back and being involved, and I think part of it is I know that through my experiences and my education and my skill set that I can help. Right? If I didn't think I could help, I wouldn't do it. So I think when you talked about it, it was always like seeing your vision. And I think it's just about being that, right? Like whoever is leading the organization or the charity or the cause, like seeing their passion and kind of, seeing that and being involved in that is always something I'm attracted to. So I think seeing your passion for the vision of the board and what the board would like to do, again, has done for 60 years, but is going to do for the next 60 years or more in the greater Sterling Heights area it was nice to be a part of, and I've learned a lot, and hopefully been able to give a little back through opinions, time, or just even thoughts and questions.
Well, I think too is that you were a great participant in our strategic planning process that we've spent the last year trying to figure out who we are going to be in the next 60 years. And I think that's going to be, kind of fun to put into action over the next couple of months.
It is. Yeah, that's such a fun process because, again, I think as business owners and sometimes I guess you say type A personalities, you just want to get it done, right? It's like, hey, let's agree on something and get it done. But there's so much learning and slowing down, having multiple people, diversity of thought, diversity of people leading you through that conversation. So it's very interesting, and it always makes me look at my life and my business and what are we doing now, but hold on, slow down a minute and kind of look to the future. So it was an interesting experience. And
I don't know anything about what you're talking about being a type A personality.
Right.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
If you've utilized your chamber membership to the maximum. You've figured out how to network, and you're involved in some of our opportunities. And twofold, I guess my question is twofold. If someone were on the fence about joining the chamber, what would you tell them is the best thing that you've gotten out of this over the last 4 years?
So I would say, relationships, right? I think if you're sitting there listening to this and you're on the fence about joining, come to some events, talk to some people, right? I think the one thing I would tell people, and again, I've never talked to you about this, but I would tell them that what is your commitment? Are you going to be engaged? Because if you think from my opinion and my experience with several chambers across the United States, if you think you're just going to fill out the application and then business or relationships or people are going to start knocking on your door, that's not it. But if you will be involved and attend events and talk to you and the team, be as much as you can a sponsor or even just a volunteer, right, at the many events that we have, you're going to meet people and you're going to see, wow, I cannot believe, all of this resource and relationships is available for, especially, a couple $100 a year. It's pretty amazing as I think about where I spend my money to market and grow my business. This is something that it's that mix of building relationships, obviously getting connected to those that can help you grow your business, and then also giving back, right? It's this centralized, there's just not a lot of organizations that are like that, and when they're well run and well participated in, and again, you always can use and need more people to help the cause, right?
So what would you also say to somebody, you're a business owner, You're a dad of 2 very active little boys. I got to spend some time with them at one of
Yeah.
our events this year. Big fans of ice cream, I
Yeah.
learned. You might talk to people that are like, listen, I don't have people in my office right now. I'm short-staffed. I'm busy. I own my own business. I have a family. But you still have found ways to give back. And how do you prioritize that amongst all of the other hats you wear?
Yeah, so I think find something that fits for you. And I think if you really challenge yourself, you'll be able to find something. Maybe you don't have mornings that you can commit to. So there's lunch events, and there's virtual events, and there's evening events. Maybe it's the vice versa. I can participate in the morning. And then, it can be on your time too. So when you think about brag groups, or you think about ambassadors, or you think about all the people that will just have a conversation with you about their experience with the chamber. I think it's very rare that if you are honest with yourself, you're not going to have some time to commit. So, or where are you committing elsewhere that's not paying off, right? Can we exchange that? Can we exchange some of that time and use that and try it, for a year or two? But just try it. Come to some events. You can join a brag call. You can join a brag meeting, right? A lot of things you can do to just test the waters and see if it's the right fit for you. And with anything, when you start something new, there's that anxiety, there's that uneasiness, you're your biggest critic, and you're going to put up all these roadblocks. But just give it a try. Try it for a month or two. I'm confident that if you meet 10 people that are associated with the chamber, that you're going to have a great perspective and great feeling.
I think the key is you never know who you're going to interact with. I think when I first got to the chamber, you weren't on the board. Clint and I have a mutual love of college basketball.
Yeah.
We figured out that we, have some great strong loyalties to our alma maters.
Right.
And you never know those connections that you're going to find. And I think that's the key, is that you just, open yourself up to meeting new people. And then it does come with business on the side too. Every one of our business owners are nonprofits, or they all want to make money and do better this year than last year or next year. And so I think that you never know who you're going to interact with.
And there's so much diversity. I mean, I've been into some chambers in let's say rural North Carolina, where it feels like you walk in and the same people have been in that chamber for 30 years and you're the first new member, right? And I just don't get that feeling with the Sterling Heights Chamber. There's a lot of people who are brand new, but there's a lot of people who've been for 30 or 40 years. So it's a nice blend that, you have different groups and a lot of diverse businesses, cultures, and diversity of thought, right? So there's a lot of people who support different things in the community, and you can find your group.
Well, I think that you have definitely, used your State Farm slogan well. You've been a good neighbor, and you're always there. So we wish State Farm the best of luck celebrating their 100th anniversary. Clint, thank you for being with us today, being here, and joining us on this new adventure for us in our podcast. And so I hope that you had a great time, and we will definitely see you all again soon.
Just remember, in March, go Villanova Wildcats.
Hey, it's the Dayton Flyers.
No, don't edit that out, won't they? No Villanova in the conversation. So thank you, Stacy. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for what you're doing with the Chamber.
Thank you. Thanks, Clint.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chamber Connection. Be sure to check out information on the Sterling Heights Regional Chamber of Commerce website, our Facebook page, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We look forward to you connecting with us and tuning in next week.